Welcome back to my Let's Play Survival series, and boy do I have a story to tell you. I accidentally built a wither skeleton farm. Now, I know that sounds confusing, because you don't just build something and it accidentally is a farm, but the way this process went, with no intention to build a farm, but in the end ending up with one, well, why don't I just tell and show you how it all went down. This is the tale of a madman's wither skeleton farm. But before we get to that, let's take a quick look at how the gold farm is going, since we didn't give it a lot of attention after I finished building it 2 episodes ago. So I'm already down to 2 stacks of diamond blocks plus 15, which roughly translates to more than 3 double chests of golden nuggets. So that's going pretty well. Now obviously one of the outputs of the gold farm is also rotten meat, and luckily I have this cleric right here that buys them all up for emeralds. Now I can improve these traits by turning him into a zombie and turning him back, but I am in no need for emeralds at this moment, so for now I'm just happy with the emeralds he's willing to pay for them, even though it is half stack per emerald. Also a great improvement since last time, Optifine for 1.15. Let me just show you. I'll go to Nuidi's house real quick and let me just show you what the view is now. Now I've installed Optifine, so I'm on the roof, and as you can see, I can see the entirety of my base, both the spheres, even the gold farm. It's marvelous really, and now can I at least see where I enter my base once I fly over there. So that's a huge perk. Not to mention the glass tiles that look way more smooth now. So, the breeder we built last time, I've let it run for a while now, and I kind of lost count at how many villagers it produced. So, I'm hoping it's 12, so we can build the iron farm pretty smoothly next episode, because obviously this episode is going to be about the wither skeleton farm, which brings me back to telling the actual tale. After the compilation of last episode, I went on to killing more wither skeletons. The problem was just that the spawn rates were terrible, so I was like, how could I improve this? So I thought of slapping the inside of the nether fortress, so that when they do spawn in the fortress, they are unable to spawn inside and have to spawn on top to the killing area. So after slapping all of the inside, I expected to have more spawns on top of the fortress. Unfortunately, that just didn't happen. And then it hit me. Normally, it would be a terrible idea to just go slapping around a nether fortress in a public server, because people can easily find you that way and will steal your stuff and destroy everything you build. But with the 1.16 update that is coming up, the entire nether will be reset, so it would just be temporary. So I could actually go slapping around the nether fortress to reduce spawn points for other mobs, so more wither skeletons will be able to spawn. Now I had a good thing going on here, because in the overworld I was searching for this slime chunk. I was actually mining a lot of stone, graphite, diorite and andesite. So that in turn would give me a lot of slabs which I could use to place on the netherrack surrounding the nether fortress. And before I knew it, this rhythm was born with mining, crafting, slabbing. 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 Well, you get the idea. And often leaving me with more materials than I could store in that little cave. So from time to time, I had to go back to my base and store the newly gained items. Now let's just appreciate the sound of this coal mining for now. Now that was oddly satisfying, don't you think? So the perks of all this mining is it leaves me with all this stuff. In this case, I can fill up my super smelter and enjoy once again the ignition effect. So we're going to stand right here, ignition in 3, 2, 1, go. And just like that, they all turn on at the exact same time. Now all this mining, crafting and slabbing, it got a little repetitive. So at times I thought of creative ways to mine. Now at this point in time I already had 9 wither skeleton heads, and I decided to use 3 of them, plus 2 shulkers filled with eggs. And I'm going to show you guys a nice trick. Now, besides the shulkers filled with eggs and the 3 wither heads, we also want to bring some obsidian and 2 splash potions of poison 2 along the way. Now we're going to dig a nice long tunnel where we are going to fight the wither later, and I am mining this in the area where I am mining slime chunks, so that will save me some mining later. And after mining a hallway for a while, we're going to dig out a nice little spawning room where we're going to summon the wither. And basically what we're going to do here is make some sort of cage of obsidian where we're going to lay down the soul sand, all in preparation to summon the wither, which in the end should look like this. Please note that it is 2 obsidian blocks high and no ceiling. Now I just put down the heads for the wither, and we don't need to put down the 3rd head just yet, because this is where the eggs come in. Because what we basically do now is spam the 2 shulkers I filled with eggs all around this little cage. So onto the fun part, let's spam the eggs. I'll fast forward this. Now after the fun part, we're kind of entering the sad part now. So you grab your 2 splash potions of poison 2 and you just make all your chickens sick until they just have half a heart left. And now this is kind of a struggle, but you have to try to put on the 3rd head. But after a few tries we should be able to succeed just like that. Now we run backwards and these 2 cobblestones will demolish with the wither explosion, and unfortunately all of our chickens are dead now too. Now we're going to fight the wither in 2 ways. The first half of his health bar are going to be bow and arrow, and the second part is going to be with a sword. And at the end there's of course this nether star waiting for us as a reward. But because of what we did earlier with the chickens, we have another reward waiting for us at the end of the hallway, because all mobs that are getting killed by the wither turn into a wither rose. So all these chickens turn into more than a stack of wither roses, which are great for mob farms without us having to build a very complicated farm at first to gain wither roses. So you can do this time after time, as long as you have chicken eggs to spam and wither skeleton huts to summon the wither. And with the nether star we can now of course craft our first beacon, which marks the first one this season yet. Back to slabbing. Now keep in mind that at this point I still wasn't intending on building a wither skeleton farm at all. I was just placing all these slabs in order to reduce the spawn rates so more wither skeletons would spawn at the fortress. Also, Iskal85, if you're watching this, please keep in mind that all this diorite is getting erased the moment 1.16 kicks in. So you can approve this usage of diorite. Now it actually did work. It increased the spawn rates of the wither skeletons, but it increased the spawn rates of blazes even more. So every time I went wither skeleton head hunting, I got blasted by so many blazes. So I thought of a construction to control where these mobs are going to spawn, and before I knew it I already created a farm that should work in theory. And the idea was fairly simple too. Mobs will be able to spawn and strings would hover above it, and as soon as they spawned the tripwire hooks would activate, pushing them all the way down to the killing chamber. Now putting a glass box all around the system would prevent blazes from flying up and escape and hit me while I'm trying this out. And it would create a system where blazes, zombie pigmen, and wither skeletons and regular skeletons would be drawn to a certain killing chamber. And that was exactly the moment when it hit me that this system in its entirety, plus all the slabs I have put down, was in fact a mob farm aimed at wither skeletons, blazes, zombie pigmen, and regular skeletons. And I was just confused because, I had built a structure and you could say it was already a farm before I realized. And now, don't get me wrong, I like building farms, but wither skeleton farms, I always consider that to be a top tier farm. Only the top tier Minecraft players build such farms, and now here I was making this killing chamber for exactly such a farm. And realizing this really boosted my motivation to get it done right. The only problem was, despite the system being pretty solid, pretty logical, the spawn rates were terrible. So occasionally I would get a blaze down here, but like 0 wither skeletons, and neither any of the other mobs. So I need to find ways to improve this. Now, I had a few ways to do this. I could go down deeper so that there are more blocks between me and the spawnable blocks. Or I could go to an entire system entirely. But I wasn't too fond of that last idea, since I was pretty proud of the system I thought up. Now, let me just take you to the process of how this worked real quick, and you'll see that it's really not too complicated. So as you could see, I have these 3 sides shaped in a horseshoe, and each side has 3 layers. And I'm going to work out one of the layers for you right now, creating these bricks blocks on which the mobs can actually spawn. Then we're going to put down the pistons, which we need to power later using the blocks behind them with some redstone. Luckily, I had enough pistons in my red shulker box, so the amount of pistons was not a problem for me. And then we put a tripwire in the corners right there. Now, with the tripwires in place, I should place a block behind that, just like that. Then I could put on strings on the floor, all the way from one side to another. And actually, that was already it for the spawnable blocks. So mobs will be able to spawn here, on the contrary of using pressure plates, because mobs can spawn on pressure plates. And the only thing left for me to do is to find a way to put the redstone behind the pistons. Now, sometimes it was a bit of a puzzle because of the slabs and blocks I already put there. So I had to make sure to be careful without breaking any of the other sides or the redstone from the system that goes above. But, you get the idea. You put the redstone behind the pistons, and as soon as a mob spawns on one of these blocks, the tripwire hooks activate and they get pushed all the way down. There wasn't anything else to it, it was literally that easy. And then we will be able to run around in the killing chamber to all 3 sides, kill them, get the items manually and put them in chests manually. I didn't plan on making a big shot sorting system or using a lot of hoppers, because, as I told earlier, all of this is going to vanish as soon as the 1.16 update kicks in. So it had to be low cost, easy and efficient. Now I could cross the first 2 off my list, leaving me only with efficiency, and boy was that a challenge. So it wasn't efficient at all, and I had to try several different things in order to improve it. Like deepening the killing chamber, placing more slabs, or renew the system entirely. Now, as you might understand, I didn't want to renew the entire system because this was the most easy one. So on to the first idea, deepening the killing chamber, and I even added a layer of lava so that the mobs of importance would survive the fall and the regular skeletons would just, get set on fire. But those were the least important mobs, so this was to prevent them from falling to their death while maintaining a better distance from my position and the spawnable blocks for the mobs. And adding some glowstone will give it a mild decorative finishing touch in which the room brightens up a little, because as you know, everything in the nether is just so dark. Now, this was a very ugly way to decorate the stuff, but it is low cost and it does the job. So that's why I chose glowstone for this. Now, if this plan succeeded, all we have to do now is wait for the mobs to drop, and it might just rain wither skeletons. Only it didn't. So, this plan, deepening the killing chamber, didn't work. On to the next. More slabbing. Now please note that in this point of time, I already slabbed a lot of the environment around, inside and on top of the nether fortress. So, it was hard looking for new spots to slab, but there were still spots on slabs, so I could continue doing this. I just wasn't sure if this really was the solution to my problem. Now, after slabbing some more, I did see some more mobs spawning and getting into my killing chamber from time to time. But with all the effort I put into this, and this being the mob output, I still wasn't satisfied. So I had to do the thing I really didn't want to do, but I knew I had to. It was necessary. I need to take down my design and start over. Luckily, I already knew exactly what kind of design I was going to use for the retry. You know, I had seen this flying machine system in one of the Season 6 Hermitcraft episodes of Iskal85, and his was inspired by a YouTuber named Gnembon. I will put both the links to their videos in the description, but I don't want to be the kind of player that just looks everything up. I want to understand and know how things work myself. So I knew this would mean I would need to experiment with flying machines, since I had no experience with those whatsoever. And by the time I would know how it works and it goes down, then I would be able to complete my design. Meaning I would need to test and learn a lot before I could actually finish this. At least the first step was pretty easy. I needed to expand the area on which mobs can spawn, which would increase a lot by each of the sides. And once I had that done, I would need to go experimenting with the flying machines. And what it's basically supposed to do when it's done is that it pushes all mobs that spawned into the hole, and you know, it just goes back and forth. New mobs can spawn and all new mobs get pushed into the killing chamber. Okay, here goes nothing. I should put a slime here, now an observing facing the opposite side. And then it should already be ready to take off. Add all these slime blocks over the length of the hole so we can slide all the mobs into it. Add some obsidian to prevent it from flying without stopping. And take off. Which it doesn't. As if it would work in the very first try. But after some self-education, I realized that stone slabs also just sticks to slime blocks, that there's a certain limit to slime blocks being able to be pushed by a piston, and certain blocks, like leaves, don't stick to slime blocks. So, with all this new knowledge, I was ready for a retry. Which actually turned out pretty well. It even stopped at the right time. It just didn't come back, so I needed to find a solution for that. And more often than I'm willing to admit, putting me in this situation. But as I was learning, I suddenly got the hang of it. And from this point onwards, it went fast. Really fast. And there we have it, 3 working stations with flying machines with each 2 layers. Now, admittedly, this isn't the prettiest of redstoning I've done, you know, with all the redstone exposed, but I made it so that it's as low cost as possible, because all is going to vanish anyway. So I even made a lever in the killing chamber which allows me to activate and deactivate it. And now we can go for a test run. But not before we have worked out some unfinished business. Like the question, how many chunks did I have to dig out to finally find a slime chunk? The answer is 30, and I found 2 of them. Which of course gives for great farming material later. But you should have seen the look on my face after digging out 25 chunks and finding no slime chunk whatsoever. And the second thing I don't want you guys to miss is how it looks from above. Now all these slabs are in place. This took me roughly about 46,000 slabs combined, you know, stone, diorite, granite, andesite, cobblestone, all of these things together, because obviously I didn't just have 46,000 slabs lying around the corner, but altogether, yeah, that was the count I ended up with. Leaving us with one more thing to do. I even geared up for the occasion, the grand finale, the moment you've all been waiting for. What is the actual output of this farm? So let's finally get out of this chair in which I told the tale, put on the lever. Now don't get discouraged right away. This is supposed to happen. Just wait for it. And there we go. It's literally raining mobs. The exact mobs I need for my wither skeleton heads. Meaning, you guys should know what I'm about to do now. I'm just going to collect and end this video, and I'll see you guys next episode. If you like this video, don't forget to put a thumbs up and subscribe. You would actually do me a great favor by doing so, because then I can reach a bigger audience and more people can enjoy my videos. So, thank you very much and bye!